This is James Lupton, delighted to be joined with Kash Farooq. Kash, how are you?
I'm keeping well, man. I'm keeping well yourself.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. Been a while since we last spoke, so I thought I'd get you back on and
Yeah,
through your full journey. We've done a few interviews previously where we spoke about everything, but in separate portions, really. So we're going to put it all together today.
good.
Obviously, as viewers know by now, round eight. So we take you through 8 rounds of topics, a few
Good.
questions per each topic, and like I say, we start from day one. So round one. Talk to me about your first day in the gym. I believe you weren't overly interested in boxing at the time. Talk to me why you went into the gym when you wasn't that interested.
So my friend invited me down. I think it was a local, it was a community center. Well, that's where the boxing club was at. And my friend says, "Come down. I mean, see, give it a go." And I think a group of us went down. A friend, all of us, and I think I was only the one that stuck at it. Well, obviously, I was interested in first, but I done a bit of circuit, punch a bag, and as I was leaving the club, well, the community center. The trainer told me come back and bring your gums, and from there on, I just stuck with me. I mean, and boxing, I mean, boxing came second nature to me. And I just started enjoying it more and more. And came out a sport that I wanted to obviously pursue a career in. But at the beginning, I just never had any interest in boxing. To be honest, I just never looked at it as if anything I can make a career or anything out of it. And that was, I think, I didn't watch boxing either, so I didn't really have a clue about boxing anything. So I usually watch football up here. So, but once I started going to boxing, became my passion.
Was it or was any of boxing a shock to you? Like, so you never watched it before, really. So you hadn't really experienced or didn't know what to expect. Did anything shock you when you walked in the gym, whether it be the first day or the first week or whenever?
See, with my career, I never really walked into a gym. It was a community center, really. So they used to put the ring together, and they used the whole for a lot of different things like dancing, like meetings and that. So where the club was at, it was just a community center, and the boxing only one thing was I found it really difficult at the beginning because doing circuits, punch a bag, sparring was very very tough for me as well. But as time went on, and I just got better and better at it, and I just stuck at it, and I just got better and better.
You mentioned you weren't too interested because you didn't really see a career path in boxing. When did
Yeah.
that change? When did you realize actually I'm good at this and I can do something with this?
So I think I had my first fight. That's when my mind, what do you call it, turned towards, I can make a career out of this maybe, and I can potentially make a few quid, and set myself up into just in general, and my trainer that the first trainer, he was the one that encouraged me. I mean, boxing, you can do this, you can do that, and he's the one that gave me the motivation and inspiration that I can do something in this game. And but once I had my first fight, I won that, and I was like this. I'm gonna give this a good bash.
Do you feel with boxing, a lot of people say it's they feel like a family, they feel part of something.
Yeah,
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously with your background, you're coming from Pakistan to London,
yeah,
then over to Scotland,
yeah.
and I'm sure there are times potentially you felt isolated and alone. Did boxing give you that family community feel?
I did. I met a lot of people through boxing. I mean, that became obviously very close to me. And I still keep obviously I still keep with them in touch, everything. So boxing's that type of sport where people can potentially become your family members, and they become really close to you, and they're not just boxing people, like they're not just boxing friends. They become friends outside of boxing as well, and they become lifelong friends. And boxing's obviously done that for me, and especially my first trainer, my second trainer became like in boxing amateurs. They became like family members to me, and it's just through boxing I met them. So which yeah, makes you obviously especially immigrating from a different country to Scotland as well. I've not got family here. I've half my own family, which is not a big family, and but in boxing did things like that. Obviously, made people like that became my family members. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You mentioned your first fight was when you felt like you
Yeah,
can make a career out of this. So that takes me nicely into round two, and
yeah.
that is your amateur career. Just talk us through your amateur career and how successful were you? What are your highlights?
So I think about 49 amateur fights, 49, and I won about 38, and I lost 11. And I think most of my success came as a junior and a school youth. I think I only had about four senior fights and I turned professional. And but I won this Scottish a few times, and boxed in the British I think three times. And a few, I won the British once as a youth. I represented Scotland a few times internationally. I won Europeans, and represented a few internationals as well in Scotland as well, like Scotland versus Wales, and a few other tournaments with Scotland as well. But I never had a big amateur pedigree, but and yeah, but I had about four amateur fights.
Regarding representing Scotland, obviously we mentioned
Yeah.
American FC, you're born in Pakistan, moved over from Pakistan. Did you feel proud to be asked to represent Scotland?
Yeah, I think that's the pinnacle of amateur boxing. Well, when I was obviously, I wanted to represent Scotland. That was the first thing. When the Scottish then represent Scotland, especially in the British or in the youth, and youth or a junior or even a senior. But that was my aim as an amateur. Obviously, once I'd done that, then I won the Scottish two times in a row. Twice as I think twice as junior and once a youth. So once I'd done that, that was a big achievement for me.
You mentioned you only had four senior amateur fights before turning professional. Why not stay at senior level for longer?
So the guy who was training me, his name is Bobby Kerdy. He passed away. He passed away. He passed away. I think my second professional, sorry, second senior fight, and I think I was like, I'm just gonna turn professional now. Well, I was gonna chuck it until I met Craig Doherty. He was the one that advised me to turn professional. He was my first trainer as a professional, so he was the one that really advised me to turn professional. I never had any reason. I was gonna chuck boxing after my trainer passed away. But he was the one who encouraged me to turn professional, and I thought it was a worst decision when I turned over. But it turned out to be the best.
Why did you feel like chucking it in? Why did you feel you couldn't continue without your coach there by your side?
I think seeing boxing, you have people to trust. I think that's the first most thing. And like I said, they're like family members to me. I see them. I was seeing them about 3, 4 days a week for the last 4, 5 years. I was always in the gym, and I saw them every. They were in the gym while I was in the gym through summer and through Christmas as well, and through Easter. You name my birthdays, everything, and they would take me trips of well, not trips away, like club shows through the weekend. So I would spend a lot of time with them, and see when so obviously once my trainer passed away, I was planning to just give it up. What I mean, just give it a break because I didn't really have an interest anymore. I never had an influence in me, just someone to tell me you can do this and that. So I was just planning to just chuck it. And to Craig Doherty, I remember at my trainer's funeral. He's like, listen, just turn over and professional, and you can make a few quid. I think you'll do it well. Then I just listened to him and done it.
How thankful are you for Craig Doherty there saying to turn professional and you taking that advice and making that choice?
I would say that I never had a great see at the beginning as a professional. I never really understood the game, but at the beginning I was like this. I made the worst decision. I should just chuck boxing altogether, but I turned out to be the best one, and then you know what? I'm thankful. I'm obviously thankful to advise me just turn over. I made a few quid in boxing as well, and that's helped me after boxing as well. And so I do thank him although.
Absolutely. 2015. So we're going into round three. So 2015, you turned professional. Craig Derbyshire was your debut opponent, and you won a four-round decision. Had your arm raised for the first time as a professional. How did that feel? What was your emotions like?
It was great. I kicked off my professional career as a 19-year-old boy, and I've only been boxing for about 4 or 5 years now. So I started boxing about 2010. I had my first fight 2010, end of 2010. So 4 years in, I've had made well 4 or 5 years in, I've made my professional debut, and I won my first fight. I was over the moon, and I was like, I just gotta keep on carrying on, just keep winning. But the problem was that Craig Doctor never had his professional license, and it was his brother-in-law. Well, not his brother-in-law at the time. His brother-in-law, Craig Dixon, he was the one that was training me. Well, he's the one that did my corner, which he eventually became my full-time trainer. And so I was a wee bit. I never had a trainer really. What I mean? Craig Doctor was training, but it wasn't like in my corner. But after one, two professional fights, he became my Craig Dixon became my full-time trainer. And but again, my hand raised first time as a professional was a great feeling.
How was it to have Craig Doherty advise you to turn professional? He's the one who's you've made that choice off the back of his advice, and
Yeah,
you put that trust in him. You mentioned trust earlier. You put trust in
yeah,
Craig Duffy to go and turn over with him as your coach. Yet come fight night, he can't be there in your corner.
yeah,
What was that like? Because it must be a strange feeling to be with somebody for a whole of a camp and then
yeah.
come fight night, most important night of that whole camp, it's somebody else giving you advice.
But I think, yeah, it was. I was. He was there on the night, but he wasn't in my corner. Like, but I think seeing a fight, you really want to be thinking for yourself. And that's what I've learned. Just when you're not in the ring, you gotta be thinking for yourself. Your corners just advise a few mistakes you're making or your opponent's making. But seeing the fight, you should read it yourself. I mean, and a good fight obviously can adjust to anything and thinks for itself in the fight. You know.
I want to fast forward a little bit. So round four,
Yeah,
and I go to winning the British title. I would say 95% of fighters who get into the sport from
yeah,
Britain want to win that title. It's such a prestigious title to win, and it's very, very, everyone's very complimentary of that title. It means something to everybody. What did winning that title mean to you?
the British title. You know what? At the time, I never really thought of it. I just want a British title. I was just thinking more of I can make a few. I can work up the ladder, start making a bit more money now. And I can maybe potentially end up with a bigger promotional contract or something. But that never really happened until I won the British all right. But it was to be honest, I wasn't really over the moon and anything. I won the title. That didn't mean anything to me. As long as I won, that was the main thing for me. And but I know until after obviously I've retired and I'm thankful I won the title and I've won it all right everything. And it's a good achievement I can look back at in my career.
It's interesting to hear you say that. It sounds like it was more of a financial stepping stone for you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, boxing was always been a financial thing for me. I've always wanted to obviously do something with it, and boxing. I've made a few quid through boxing. I never made life changing money, but it's always that was my goal since the day I took boxing up. As I not really care about it. I just want to be financially well. I can make a few quid in boxing and do something with it, and because I think sometimes boxers make type of money that they'll never probably make in a working life type of money. So I always had that mindset, just try get yourself financially well in boxing, try getting what you can and try getting out.
When you won the British outright, was it still the same emotion towards it, where it for you was just a case of, well, okay, it's another win, it's another payday, really?
Yeah, just to be honest, yeah, that's really it. I was just thinking another win, another payday. I can just work. Obviously, the fights will probably get bigger now after this, and that's how I end up with Lee McGregor's fight, which will end up in a mega fight for me. But yeah, just like you said, it's just another fight and another win for me. I never really looked at the British title. Of course, I never really looked at it as a big thing for me. I just looked, as long as I'm winning and I'm moving up the ladder, I can potentially have a big fight and they can pay me well.
You mentioned it's always a financial thing. Did you ever want world titles or have ambition to win world titles, or was it again the money that would come with that?
I never see as much as I think about the money. It's not always that was my motivation. It was and it wasn't because I think boxing's at the beginning you're not gonna get paid well, nothing like that, and but I always thought, I mean, just keep winning, I mean, keep winning, and just you keep work up the ladder. You end up potentially making a few quid, as long as you just keep winning. And but I never really looked at I want my getting paid this and long. I just wanted to keep winning, and I know things will just get better and better for me.
Was anyone around you in the gym or in your coaching team looking at you thinking, you've won the British title and you've won it outright? Like, are you crazy to not be feeling, elated by this?
To be honest, you know what? They were my trainers always. Craig Dixon, he was like that. Listen, this is a good achievement. This is some achievement, by the way. Only handful of guys win the British title, all right. And you're one of them as well. Especially from the background, you're from Pakistan, and you're the first one to do it. So it's this is some achievement. You probably look back in a few years time, and obviously you'll be over the moon with it. You know.
Do you look back on it now that you've been retired for a little while, do you look back now and think, actually, yeah, it was a good achievement?
Yeah, it was, and it was. Happy. Obviously, like I said, I'm happy. I won the British title, right? And it's something. Obviously, it's a good thing I've done. Instead of doing something else in boxing. When these WBC internationals, but they don't really mean much compared to the British title, which is a legit title. So it's. Yeah, it's a good thing. I won the British and won it outright. I get to keep the belt as well.
I was going to ask you, obviously, you get to keep the belts, you won it
Yeah.
outright. I'm intrigued to ask you the question: is it on
Mm.
display in your house? Because is it a proud achievement for you that you got it on display, or is it just something that you had from your career and it's there essentially?
It's something in my career I've got. I've not got a discipline mask. I've just got it away somewhere, and that's about it. To be honest, boxing, yeah. So yeah, I've just won the title, and that's it. I've just put it away now. Away. It's not in the house or anything like that. You know.
Is that your mindset towards your everything you do, really? I suppose in life and in your careers, etc. Is it a case of just looking for bettering yourself each time rather than dwelling on what achievements you have got currently?
Yeah, so see, as a boxer, my mindset was obviously since my first amateur fight, just take one fight at a time and see where you can end up. We can end up potentially doing. I never looked at I'm gonna end up boxing world titles. I just keep winning and just take the next fight as it comes. You know what I mean? Because obviously you're not guaranteed anything in boxing, success or even things like that. And so obviously my last fight and that my last fight was my last fight. I mean, I just didn't expect me to retire at that young age. So like I just that's the way I was looked at it. Just take a fire time or day at a time, just in general life as well. You can't look too far ahead.
Absolutely. Let's move
Yeah,
on to round five. And you mentioned it already, the Lee McGregor fight.
yeah,
Um, a fantastic fight. One of my favorite fights still to this day.
yeah,
It really is a great fight to watch for the fans and for the neutrals. For yourself being a part of that, you mentioned there was such a big part of your career. What
yeah.
was it like for you? Let's start from the very beginning. When you got that fight signed, contracts done, and you go heading into
Yeah.
camp for Lee McGregor, what were your thoughts on that?
You know what I thought? Brilliant. I've got a fight that obviously I wanted as well, and he wanted the fight as well, and it's gonna be. And obviously the crowd, the fans wanted the fight as well, so it finally got made. And we got over the line. So I was like, this is gonna be a mega mega fight, and this is gonna be a fight that's gonna be obviously both of us gonna put everything on the line. And it was in Glasgow as well, Nems Arena. So I was like, listen, this is gonna be some fight when it does. Because I know he wanted to win as much as I did, and but I always knew I was gonna beat him. And just unfortunate, I just never got a decision.
Do you feel that you received the credit you deserve from the fans and boxing world alike for taking such a risky fight, fairly early on in your career?
Mm. No, to be honest, see that fight really got my name out there. I think I wasn't really that known. I know I won the British all right, but that fight really got my name out there in the British public, and everyone started taking notice of me. He's a good fighter because Lee McGregor's obviously he was the one that had a promotional contract with Barry Morgan, and Josh Taylor obviously was on undercard or Josh Taylor. And after that fight, people start taking notice of me. He's like, wow, he's a really good fighter, and obviously the decision didn't go my way, but people obviously know who won that fight.
Do you look back at that result and although it didn't go your way, are you
Yeah.
pleased because you're one of few fighters who fights a fight and whose stock rises in defeat?
You know what I did, and I ended up signing Eddie Hearn off that as well. So I was very lucky on my. I know this is it was a blessing in disguise, but I ended up signing Eddie Hearn, get a contract with him, and so defeat ended up being a good thing. Not good thing, but ended up being a better thing for me because I end up a lot of people my stock rose and end up signing Eddie Hearn, and people end up taking more notice of me, how much of a good fighter I was, and yeah, so it turned out to be a very great result for me overall.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you mentioned obviously it was good to that defeat was good for you. Obviously, it wasn't the defeat. That's not why Eddie signed
Yeah,
you. It was your
yeah,
performance, and you was a credit to yourself that night and to
yeah,
boxing. Like I say, it's one of my favourite fights. So the pair
yeah,
of you put on a great show. Move on to round six. Some of these
yeah,
may have been mentioned already, but I want to go into highs and lows, and it can be inside or outside the ring. Just tell me your personal highs and lows through life and what it built you
yeah.
and to you are today.
I think the highs were probably my highest point boxing was probably signing Eddie Hearn. I think boxing. I think that was a pinnacle of boxing. This is a reason why every fighter gets into boxing. And I know I won the British alright. I boxed on a few times in BBC Scotland up here. But I think the pinnacle of boxing is to sign with a big promotional contract in Eddie Hearn. And for me, I think that was probably the highest point of my career. And you know what? And ended up getting more notice off that, and I had three good performances while I was with him. And obviously, the low point in my boxing, I'll always say the lowest point of my life in boxing career was me retiring. I've just unfortunate how things ended.
Absolutely. Well, do you know, we'll go straight into round seven because that is the retirement.
Yeah.
Um, just for anyone who doesn't know, just tell us why you was forced into retirement.
So we do our annual checks on obviously your brain, eyes, and bloods, and my MRI obviously came back different from what it was previous year, obviously last previous years, and obviously taking advice of doctors, they just advised me, listen, it's probably just for me better to hang my gloves up, And obviously, I wasn't gonna get my license neither off the British Book Control unless a doctor passed me, say I'm fit to fight, but they obviously say I wasn't fit to fight, so that was that. So I had to retire because of that, and yeah.
What were the differences on your scans, if you don't mind me asking?
So I've just different, I mean, to be honest, it's a wee bit complicated. I think I can't really explain it, but it's just different brain change. My brain change was different from what it was from last year, and obviously previous years and where I was, and obviously it wasn't as safe for me to box. I mean, it's nothing like life threatening, nothing like that, but it's just obviously it wasn't. It never passed the boxing British Book Control's medical test or whatever it was, and that's the reason I had to really retire.
Do you think, because they're annual tests, like you mentioned, once a year, now we don't know in that last 12 months
Yeah,
when what's happened to your brain has changed. We
yeah,
don't know whether it be in your last fight or the
yeah.
first fight after your last MRI scan. Do you think they should be more regular for safety of fighters?
No, I think what they do is great. I mean, I think they're probably the safest boxing border control. I mean, and probably in the world. I mean, what they do. I think it's the right thing as well because boxing. Anybody can tell you boxing is no, it's not a safe sport. I mean, anybody can tell you that getting punched in the head is it's no safest thing to do. But I think what they do is annually get a brain check, and obviously then maybe see if you've had a tough fight, you should probably get a brain scan after your tough fight, I mean, or something like that, just in case you've got a brain bleed or change in your brain or something like that. But what they do every year is probably the best thing for a fighter, and because you've got life after boxing, you probably need to you probably have long life after boxing. You have to live, what I mean. So you don't want to take damages in boxing. You have to live with the rest of your life.
Obviously, boxing was your career. So I know
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn very recently or soon before the brain scan, that was your
Yeah.
financial security. Did you feel any bitterness towards failing in the board and boxing at all?
You know what? I was a wee bit pissed off about how everything ended. What I mean, but it's just part of life. What I mean, I'm just like I just move on and just get ready for the next chapter of my life now. And that's just I just keep myself busy outside boxing. I do my personal training and work with the youth as well. So I do things work with charities and that. So I just that keeps me busy. And and that's I was training the amateurs for a year and a half there before I just stopped last year because it was just taking a lot of time. Not time, but I just felt like I'm not retired. I've just been back in the gym again. And I think a trainer's life is much, but not as tough as a fire's, but his life's in the gym as well. So I'm just gonna take a break, and I'll come back a bit later on when I'm ready to go back into the gym and give 110% back into boxing because I think see we do boxing, you have to give 110% because I think see we're doing part-time boxing is I know a lot of fighters don't have options, but they need to work and box as well, like to do training as well, but I think you should really give 110% to boxing and give a good bash, and you can potentially make something out of yourself, if you're good enough.
Brings me nicely on to round eight, the final round, the final
Yeah,
topic, and that is life after boxing. I mentioned there 18 months you was
yeah,
coaching. When we last spoke, it was about 6 months ago, and you had
yeah,
told me at the time you're coaching, but you don't really see it as long term. You're not sure how much longer you do it. You just
yeah,
sort of doing it to for the sake of doing it, really. It sounded
yeah,
like it's the indication I got. You've mentioned there now you stepped away from it after 18 months because you can't
yeah,
give it your all. As you mentioned, you need to give 110%. But
yeah.
you did say there that you'll look at going back to it in the future. Is it something that you enjoyed?
I enjoyed it, and but the only one thing I always look at the boxing careers in a fire's hand now. So you're in the gym giving 110%, but you don't know what he's doing outside. You don't know what he's You know what I mean? You can walk away tomorrow, you can chuck it tomorrow. So I'm like that, I'm just taking my time. See when I've got the hunger back, I want to be in the gym and giving 110%. I'll probably will come back. But if I'm not gonna go back, I'm not gonna go back. Some fires don't go back after they retire. They do other things, you know what I mean? So I'm like that. I don't know whether I'm gonna go back or not. I'm just see if I can build the hunger up to go back in the gym again. But I work with the youth. I teach the youth boxing as well. Like going to schools. I work with the youth, and I still teach them boxing. If you know what I mean, I just don't. I'm not in the gym anymore. But in terms of outside of work with the youth, I still teach them boxing and give them that boxing can potentially make and change your life. You know what I mean? If you pick the right club, the right person that can guide you. Like I still do that, and but me in terms of me being in the gym, I'm not there at the moment, you know what I mean? Apart from doing personal training.
Do you think boxing should be part of the national curriculum in schools, part of PE?
I think they should, and I think they should put boxing in a lot of fields, you know what I mean? I think they shouldn't put it in prison the way America done it, and how Brian Hopkins done it, James Scott done it as well. I think they should put boxing into prisons, you know what I mean? That especially with young kids as well, that maybe young offenders that don't turn serve in time. You know what I mean? Guys who are doing life, should make a boxing program up in jails where they can fight other prisons, you know what I mean? Something like that, or even go to the fight the championships. That obviously I think it's a good thing, it can get a person to aim for something in life, you know what I mean? Because I always think you have gotta have a goal in life to do something. Boxing, it's great for a person to do get into, and you're individual, you're not in a team or nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people say about it gives that discipline, it could cut down, gang crime and, street violence and knife crime, things like everything, all these sorts of things that are going on at the moment. But you make a
Yeah.
good point about prison as well. It gives inmates a vision, a goal, something to try and achieve. And I suppose a lot of people who have taken the wrong path in life, they don't feel like they've achieved anything.
No, definitely. I think they should introduce that into boxing. Into prisons. Not with with young kids, well, with young kids, but as senior as well, guys who are maybe serving life, they can maybe potentially maybe you know what I mean, take the boxing up and thing and maybe fight, go to championships, and have opportunities, but doesn't mean they get out. You know what I mean? I'm talking about they're just they get to go to championship fight, but represent the prison or whatever, and I think the way America done as well, like how Bernardo Hopkins end up in the prison, he had to fight other prisons, like fight in the jails. I think they should do things like that, and I think that can maybe potentially make a change. Because see, boxing, you have to really live a clean life to want to be good. No drinking, no smoking, no healthy nights, things like that, and it's not you only for doing it for a couple of years. You got to do it the day you retire. You have to live a clean life. So they can potentially maybe, and some people can end up change their mindset as well, which gives people obviously a thing to aim for as well, boxing, keep winning.
Absolutely. Well, Cash, that rounds it up. That takes us through our 8 rounds of topics. So thank you very much for talking us through your journey today and being so open and honest as well as always.
Yeah, thanks, Ojam. I appreciate having me. Thank you, mate.
Anytime, mate.